What's going on, Cubs fans? Welcome back to another episode of Cubs on Tap. Coming to you tonight, a little bit late, but hey, we are coming to you after a win, a series victory. Can't believe it. Don't know how it happened. Didn't think we'd see the day. The first season series win since opening day, which really technically, Juice, you pointed out on a past episode. We haven't even concluded that opening series against the Brewers because Game 2 was postponed due to inclement weather. So technically, this was our first season series victory against the San Diego Padres. Pretty incredible stuff. Came back from behind after we already had the game pretty much in hand, 5-2. And then what the hell happened? No idea. Those couple of innings there. Scott Afros got about 27 outs in one inning. He completed a game, it felt like, in one inning just to get out of one inning. And, Juice, before we get going here, I want to let all the listeners know that you can definitely go to our YouTube channel. Please do that if you want to talk, comment, talk to us, like, subscribe, all that good stuff. OnTapSportsNet.com, all the Chicago sports needs that all the teams. We got all the teams. We cover them, beer reviews, entertainment stuff, bets. I'm handling the on tap bet stuff. Bears on tap, Bulls on tap, Sox on tap, whatever you want. You can find it at OnTapSportsNet.com. And Juice, let's get into this thing. I have two questions for you before we get going. My guy at Juice on Tap, I'm at Joey Knows Nothing. And if you want to follow the Cubs stuff, at Cubbies on Tap on Twitter. Juice, have you ever seen somebody run slower, top end speed, slower than Yadier Molina and Albert Pujols combined? That's the first question. And secondly, how are you doing?
Doing great, man. Yeah, if I had to bet against him or my grandmother at Bet Rivers, make sure you're going over there for code on tap for they'll match up to $250 deposit match. It's awesome. If I had to bet on that, I'd probably bet on my grandmother, and she's no longer with us. So that was an insane, stupid amount of running that, like, Yadier Molina, just retire, dude. You're done. Like, just retire already. After that, like, embarrassment that was just shown, going first to third, I don't even know what he was doing. I don't know if he was running to get a cheeseburger or a taco, like what he was doing. But, yeah, man, just an embarrassment. Like, he just go away, man. Like, I'm done with Yadi Molina. Just done. Like, the guy's a clown at this point. He's a shell of himself. He's a loser. People don't even like him.
Nobody likes him. Nobody likes Yadi.
I heard he's like Aaron Rodgers. His family doesn't even like him. Benji Molina's over there like, the hell, man? I hate this guy. Yeah, I'm starting rumors, I'm sure. And I'm sure they're not true, but they're true in my mind. So
is Jose Molina hiding too?
You forget about Name That Molina. You used to play, back when you would watch SportsCenter. That was so great, man. Like, sitting and watching SportsCenter every night, and it was Name That Molina. And that was before I had, like, this pure hatred for the Cardinals. And I'd be like, oh, that's Yadi. And then, now I'm done naming Molinas. I want them all out at this point. And bad guy, bad teammate, bad runner, clearly.
Tony La Russa is faster than Yadier Molina at this point.
They should
look at his gifts. They
should run for their jobs. Like, that should be the one who loses has to just go home, like, forever.
They should just all band together and play, like, just play softball. Just play huge softball, old Chicago style softball.
I don't even know if they'd be good at that at this point.
Yeah, just
horrible people. Like, do any of those? Like, does Tony or Yadi seem like the guy you want to drink at your softball league with? Not me. Not me. Not. Yadi seems like the type of guy that would, like, get, like, super hard on with it and, like, or go hardo, and just so embarrassing. Yeah,
they did. Question for you, Juice. Scott Crawford got a question for you.
More embarrassing, Molina running or losing to the Reds 14-11. Yeah. Oof. Man, the Reds are bad. The Reds are so bad. I saw a story. They ran out of hot dogs and beer on a promotion night. Like that is that's how bad that is. And there was like 700 people there.
Well, that's because their owner is just being super cheap right now and just like cutting all costs wherever he can. He's like, hot dogs, beer, we're not providing enough. Please, you get what you can. When you get in the ballpark, you get one or two, and that's it. We feed enough people, and we're a little bit low. We're shorting everybody. So I feel bad for the Reds, actually, if I'm being honest. Not that I don't really care that much, but and then our guy Cody here says losing to the Reds 14-11 is worse. I think that's pretty bad. That's pretty bad, Juice. Not gonna lie.
No, I mean, at this point too, it should go back to like I always hear, going into Bears games used to be so fun because you could put like 11 beers in your coat and they didn't give a shit, and you could bring like a bunch of food in. You'd never have to buy anything from the concession. Like the Reds should just do that. Like it should just be a free for all of whatever you can bring into the stadium. Like I think I would bring in that if I were ever like lost a bet and had to go watch the Reds in Cincinnati, I think I would like try to find the nicest steakhouse I could find, and I would just bring in like a $70 like 48-ounce prime rib or something, and just enjoy it like out because that'd be the only thing I'd enjoy for the whole 9-inning outing. But with that said, I'd probably puke it up after watching bad baseball. So I don't know, maybe that's lose for me.
Yeah, no, I kind of agree though, man. Like, and then Scott here says BYOB would be the best. Honestly, I have a story behind this. So this kind of reminds me of like, we had this dollar theater here in Rockford. It was $1, literally, to enter the theater and watch a movie. But they were all movies that were like not brand new. It wasn't like something that was just right in the theaters. It would, they'd take a little bit of time to get to this theater. But who cared? Like, we don't care. We'd wait and we'd go to that theater. And you know what the best part was? They did not check anything. And we used to bring all the candy we wanted. In like, your girlfriend's or like whoever's purse. You stuff them in there. Like my mom would be stuffing stuff in her purse and bringing like M&Ms with. And like, it's much cheaper that way because that's how they get you, Juice. They get you with the candy, the popcorn. Markups. Yeah.
The concession markups, man. You're absolutely right. It's just like Reds baseball. It needs to stop. Concession markups need to stop. Reds baseball needs to stop. But and so does Yadier Molina at that point. Needs to stop. No more running. But we're talking a Cubs win, man.
Talking a Cubs win. Yeah, let's do it because I'm excited about this one, Juice. The first game of the series, obviously, we kind of recapped already. Me and Ron did an episode. We recapped the first couple games of the series. Cubs getting the shutout. Kyle Hendricks, magnificent, masterclass professor. Almost had the complete game, 116 pitches, I believe. But you know what? And then the second game, obviously we lost a heartbreaker. Frank Schwindel, that ball should have been out. They said it on the broadcast today, actually, which confirmed my beliefs when me and Ron came on here and I was ranting about Bob. I almost said Bob. Rob Manfred. He might as well be Bob. I don't know what he's doing. He's bobbing for apples. He's not actually
gotta earn his real name. It's just like Al Pujols. I've been talking about it on this show for weeks. He's never gonna earn his name back. He's Al Pujols. He's a shell of himself, so he's a shell of his name.
Shell of his name is 100% spot on because when you're fucking with the baseballs like that, and hey, we got a little bit of good karma in this game because one or two balls that the Padres hit should have probably been gone in this game. And maybe you could say the same about Jason Hayward's in this game as well. Not quite sure. But there were a couple that were hit by the Padres, one or two for sure, that could have been out and could have really done damage against us, been big trouble. And they fell short of the wall. And that's what happened to Schwindel last night. And then today, I wanted him in the lineup. I said last night, put Schwindel in the lineup, DH him, because I still want Rivas in the lineup. But I said he put a good swing on that. He had a nice at-bat. Get him back in the lineup, feeling good about himself, knowing that, like, have people tell him and have him knowing that he should have hit a home run last night because even he thought it. He thought it was going out. So, and then what did he do today? He banged one off the wall in center field. That was nice to see. Alfonso Rivas, he hit a home run yesterday with his family in attendance. And then today, dude, huge, man. huge. Came up clutch at the end of that game, the go-ahead 2-run single. How do you feel about the first base and DH position? I guess we'll just kind of get into it, Juice, right now at least from this series. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, no, Rivas, his performance over the wasteland here, great. Probably means that he won't be in the lineup tomorrow, right? All things considered, this is how this has gone. No, he's got to play. There's no reason, like we said on the show for forever and ever here throughout this whole little run, the Cubs are if they're going to be bad, I hope that they're, at least finding out who's sticking and who's going to go, So a 25-year-old needs to play every day. And he's showing too. He's showing that he can get big hits. We already know about his glove. He's a guy who is already a way better fielder, in my opinion, than Frank at that position. So if you want to get Frank some at-bats to kind of let him work through this slump he's kind of been in, DH him. That's why the DH is there. But Rivas has got to play every day. Yeah, it was good to see. There's a lot of guys throughout this series I thought that were, Wilson Contreras, stays hot. It was nice to see him, knock the ball around the yard. But to go back to your point about the whole idea of baseball gods kind of shining down on us, it's been a long run in the last couple of series, it seems like, to where they've had some really bad luck. And getting some good luck today was nice. I know we're way behind being even. And that's the sad part, because that whole White Sox series was like, man, like 1 or 2 drops. It seemed like that was going to be the difference in the game. And the Cubs were hitting a lot of balls hard throughout that series. That just didn't fall in. They found, they're right at somebody or some terrible luck. And it was just good to see, the fortune the baseball gods kind of turned their way today. And, yeah, man, no, I'm excited. I think if you're looking at a guy who really stood out to me was Rivas, because, he hits that home run, the first night in front of some of his family, and then today gets the big hit. And those are huge confidence builders that you belong, right? You come up in a big situation where your team's counting on you to drive in runs, and you're able to do that. You're able to, poke something through the infield and get some hits. And, before you know it, now you're hitting the ball harder around the ballpark, and you belong. And that's the case of, I hope that we're seeing with Rivas. I hope that, with his glove and with his left-handed bat, it fits the need. And he's young, and he's only going to project to the future to, be a mainstay in this team if he can lock that down, because as we talked about, there's not a lot of depth throughout the minors at that position. So he's going to get every opportunity to succeed. I also think it's just time that, David Ross just pencils him in, and you just got to see what you have at this point. And I think too, like, you should play him against lefties too, because I want to see him get at bats with that as well. Because if you truly have a guy who could hit lefties, and it's a left-handed first base, man, you're close, man. You're starting to look at some things around the infield that could shake up going into next year or the year after. And you don't got to worry about that position or go out and spend big money for that position. You can address other needs around the ball field. Then, man, you're ahead. And it's a sigh of relief if you're able to do that on a guy that was, essentially kind of thrown in, right? It wasn't much expectation, going into that. But it'll be great to see if he could, turn it all around and keep this thing going.
Yeah, 100%, man. I'm with you about the lefty thing too, and I think that's really important. I didn't have a problem with him sitting so much against the Dodgers, but I know there was some talk about that online and stuff about why is Rivas not in the lineup. I mean, hey, like, in my opinion, not every day he doesn't have to play every single day, but at this point, I want to see him in the lineup more days than not, and, like, you need to find out if he can hit lefties. So at this point in time, we don't know if he can hit lefties or not because he's never out there against them, it feels like. So I'm with you, Juice, on that. And, like, you look at, as you said, you're close if you have a left-handed first baseman that can hit lefties. Look at the guys that we had before. It's not just Anthony Rizzo, though. He could hit lefties. There was also other guys in the league, Matt Olson and Freddie Freeman. They kill left-handed pitching. as left-handed first baseman hitters. So I'm with you. If this is truly a guy that's going to be a mainstay in this lineup, and it's nice to see the power a little bit here. He just missed one too, not too long ago. So it's like, is this power really developing for Rivas? Because we see this nice approach, we see the discipline, we see it like in crunch time too. He's willing to go up there with a nice, steady, even keel mind. It feels like even when you listen to David Ross talk about him, he just feels like he really trusts him as a hitter up in the box in key situations, and that's why we were seeing him at the top of the lineup, in the leadoff spot. He didn't have that much success in the leadoff spot as much, but that's why Ross was trusting him there. So I do really want to see him in the lineup moving forward more days than not. I'll say that. Like if he gets a sparing off day here and there, that's fine. He's still a young guy that hasn't played too many big league games, and it's the travel aspect of things too. I can see how that can possibly affect a young guy who is just trying to get acclimated here in the big league. So you need to give these guys a little bit of a blow every once in a while as well, but make sure they're getting their due at bats. Get the reps that they need, and to that other point too, we're talking about Rivas and the success that he's been having lately. I mean, Nico Horner, we got to talk about the injury. Sprained his right ankle. The collision looked pretty nasty. Looked pretty weird, to be honest. It's just an odd play. Hopefully he's not going to be out for too long, but you never want to see him leave, especially how good he's been defensively and at the plate, hitting the ball, hitting rockets all over the place. And so I want to get your thoughts on that. And then Wilson Contreras, man, Willie the Beast. This dude, 7 out of his 10 at-bats, he had hard hit balls. And I believe that he was 7 for 10, if I'm not mistaken. And just crushing the ball around the yard. It's great to see. It's like he's got a hair under his ass about not having a contract extension or something, it feels like. And, hey, we saw him DH recently too, so maybe a little bit extra rest like we thought coming into the season. Hey, what do you know, Juice? Maybe it's not that bad of a thing for a guy like Wilson Contreras who's caught as many innings as he has over his young career to this point, which it's not that young anymore, but and Scott Crawford says right here, extend Willie. I want your thoughts on Horner and Wilson Contreras.
Yeah, Horner, real snake bit, right? Because we're talking about guys that we want to see in this lineup almost every day. We want to see growth out of certain players, considering that you're a long shot to make the playoffs, right? You're kind of looking forward towards next year or the year after of them being a mainstay and fighting for the top of this division. The problem is that, a lot of these guys that we're trying to get looks at can't stay healthy. You talk about Justin Steele leaving his last start, Nico Horner, Nick Madrigal, I'm sure there's 5 others. Seiya Suzuki, who's been out for 2 games too as well. I don't know if he's hurt or if he's just, hitting that wall and needs a couple days off. But yeah, no, it's a matter of, you're not getting those reps or those looks for the front office that are so valuable. I always go back to the 2020 season that I thought that it made Theo and Jed's, difficult run their difficult job so much more difficult because they had so few games to evaluate going into 2021. They really didn't know what the future of the Cubs was going to be, considering that they only had a couple games, 60 games to judge these players. And it's such a small sample size that I don't think you can make that decision on 60 games. So it made that offseason so much more difficult. And you hope that you're not falling into that trap now because of injuries. You want these guys to be healthy. You want them to have, their full run of over, 120 games, 110, 120 games. That way you can see what you got and what they have to work on. And if they're injured and they're not out there, it's hard to evaluate young talent when they can't stay healthy. And that's the biggest problem as of right now with Nico Horner. To go to Willie, yeah, man. I love that he's been so mentally strong throughout all of this. It is so easy as a player with the contract situation, with them trading, all the guys that you came up with, to have a sluggish season, to not come out ready to play. And especially him, who
we saw it last year from those main guys.
Yeah, especially him too, who like realistically, man, like if you look at Willie, like to me, he's always been that igniter. He's the guy who feeds off of people, but also can bring his own energy. I always thought too that like when he had guys like Javi in the lineup and Chris Bryant and Rizzo, who were laying it on the line every day, it only made Willie better because he was able to be that fire and to just bring his his full game and full excitement into the ball game. That can be really difficult to do when you're on a middling team and it's a bunch of guys that you've never played with before. So I think he's been mentally strong as well as equally strong with the at-bat and defensively too. You just start to wonder what the future is for him in a Cub uniform. And I hope I'm pro extend Willie. I think that's you traded away so much fan favorite. To trade another one away would be kind of a even tougher pill for the fans to swallow. After what they did last offseason, there seems to be no sense of loyalty, and it wouldn't surprise them if they get an offer that they feel is warranted and it brings them back, maybe a third base prospect, or maybe Rivas hits for a while and then struggles and they still need to fix that first baseman side of things. You just start to wonder if the Cubs are just going to start to look to get younger at that point and then build out even further. Maybe you're getting back like a low A prospect that's very young but projectable back for Wilson Contreras in addition to some parts that are probably closer to the MLB level. That way you can bring up this new wave, still stock for the future, and still, kind of surround some guys around the new core that's going to come up. I just wonder, what the level of negotiation was prior to this all being, because it just doesn't seem like either side has let on that there have been good negotiations, that they're even close, and that I'm starting to wonder if they've even offered a full contract. That's the question. And if they haven't done that, I think the writing's almost on the wall that they're going to field offers for him at the trade deadline if they're not in it. And if they get something they like, don't be surprised that they pull the trigger. But he's been nothing short of spectacular to start this year. And he'd be the best hitter probably on the market for trade. Let's be honest here. It's hard to find hitting catchers and guys who do it at the level that Wilson Contreras does. For a contender that is maybe a piece away, you could ask for a pretty penny for Wilson Contreras. And if he doesn't project in your future, this is a Jed Hoyer, question, and you need to figure it out. If he doesn't, then you got to get something for him, because that's to let him walk. It's just, to me, it's not responsible as a GM.
Yeah, no, and Jed's not going to let that happen. He's not going to let. I don't think, if anything, if last season was any indication, he's not going to walk away with nothing. He's either going to trade him, or he's going to be making sure 100% that he can either extend him after the season, and it's like within the range of whatever the dollar amount that they think is right, between the years that they think is right, between him and Carter Hawkins and Ricketts, let's just say it. Whatever they think the dollar range in the years are within their grasp, he's going to make sure that he can get this deal done either after the season or before. I truly believe that, just based on what he did last season. Because like you said, Juice, he hasn't shown loyalty to these guys. Yes, made offers, competitive offers that held up well in the market. That is true. And I heard somebody recently, pretty big journalist, reporter, Cubs beat, whatever you want to call him, recently said he still doesn't understand. He said this on the Chicago airwaves too, so I'm just going to say that. He recently said, I'm not sure how the Cubs didn't get a deal done with Javier Baez. I'm still puzzled by that. And he said 140 million. Well, listen, the Cubs offered more than that. And I'm just going to go ahead and say that I wrote that in my article when he signed with Detroit, that the Cubs offered, I believe it was by Buster Olney, he reported 180 million, I believe. And I could be off on that just a little bit at this point. But if my memory serves me correct, it was at like $180 million range. So that one held up. So how are you not? I mean, so Baez said no. So what does that tell you? Does that tell you that he just didn't want to be here playing for this organization under who was running show here? What does that say about Wilson Contreras? Like him and Wilson Contreras are probably pretty close, right? Like same goes for Willie and Rizzo and, Chris Bryant. I mean, like, so that tells you like there could be some real conflict here between the negotiations. And if that's the case, really makes you question, like, is he getting dealt off? And was Yan Gomes more than just, I'm going to spell him to give him some rest, give him his legs some rest, and try to help boost the offense a little bit? Was he like the guy that would replace him basically when he's traded at the deadline? And look, for the returns that Jed Hoyer and the Cubs got for all those deals, I kind of trust Jed. Like whatever decision he wants to make, and I know this is going to sound bad, right? Because, we talked about it pre-show, and you mentioned that it's a possibility that he could be brought back even after traded, as a free agent in the offseason. That is true. I trust Jed at this point because I feel like he's done nothing to like disearn or unearn my trust at this point because of the returns he's gotten. Look at Pete Crow Armstrong, man. He is killing it in the minor leagues right now. Return for Javier Baez. Look at Caleb Killian and Alexander Canario. Killing it. Chris Bryant trade. I mean, he's doing pretty well with these returns. Nick Madrigal got hurt. Fine. That was involved in the Craig Kimbrell deal. We still don't know exactly what he's going to be, if like a high ceiling guy or whatever. But I guess my bigger point here is like, no matter what happens with Wilson Contreras, I want him extended. I'll be the first to say that I want him extended because, you said it right on the button. This team is lacking familiarity with players that the fans can really attach with, basically. And Contreras is a guy. He is the Lone Ranger now. And catchers, like we've seen them kind of stay over from some of these like old competitive teams. Yadier Molina. We spent the beginning of this show ragging on Yadier Molina, Yadi, and Al Pujols. Yadi stuck around in St. Louis. He carried over, and they kind of retooled that team, and look where they're at now. And they're competing and playing well with Yadi Molina being old as fuck and not being able to run around the bases. Like he's got a burger stuck on the side of his belly while he's running around the bases. Like, so it can be done. It definitely can be done.
Yeah, no, I agree with a lot of what you said there. I think it's hard for us as fans to sit here and get in we all obviously as fans want Willie back. But I think the hardest part as a fan is to separate the business part of it and what's best for the future, and to look at like when are the Cubs going to be legitimately contending. If you're paying Wilson Contreras and you don't think that you can contend for 2 more years, you're paying dead money to Wilson Contreras for 2 more years to then get him at the end maybe of his run. You know what I mean? Yeah. Pending on health. It's a big question to me. But I love the way he's kind of kept all of that to the sideline. And when he steps in between the diamond, he's been nothing short of spectacular, both defensively and offensively. But yeah, I think what this series showed in a lot of things that there's a lot of positives on this team when you're watching. There's just some really bad luck to start this season. And I think that in a year that you're trying to figure out who is a part of the future and who isn't, it makes Jed's job so much more difficult. And I just hope that these guys get healthy. I want to see this team with a clean bill of health, or mostly a clean bill of health, and just see like what he even tried to put together this year to try to be somewhat competitive. I mean, every team tries to rebuild, but when you put a team together for a year, there's always that percentage shot that when you put them together that this is going to work and you're going to find a lightning in a bottle year, right? And that's the case with this team, I think, in a lot for Jed. I think that he realistically knew it's a small chance that they fought for the division, but it's also like we're making all this assumptions in this on the show, but realistically, we can't say that this team's been healthy at all. We really don't know what this team is really capable of because before the season even started, you were down 2 arms in your starting rotation. And now you're looking at your starting lineup and your 2 middle infielders that you penciled in there are out. So,
and now you still got rotation issues with Stroman. He's designated or wasn't designated, but he was on a IL stint. Did we even get a IL specification on that?
Injury, COVID, sick. I don't know. We'll see. At this point, I don't
David
even
Robertson
around with that. Yeah, I mean it's just a matter of we'll get him back eventually. But I kind of feel for the front office throughout this start of the season because I felt like they would have a better idea, through a span of we had a little over 30 games, of what this team was going to be, and I don't think that we've gotten a fair shake throughout this whole thing yet.
Yeah, and it sucks, man, because of course it sucks when you never have your full lineup and roster that you put together, especially coming from a GM standpoint or whatever. But then you look at guys like the Horners, Nico Horner just going down tonight, and then Nick Madrigal on the IL. These guys have had issues staying healthy, both of them. Last year, Madrigal had issues staying healthy on the south side. Now, the Horner, he's been struggling with injuries for a while now. This isn't the first year. This isn't the second year, if I'm not mistaken. He's been dealing with some injuries, and that's been part of the thing with him. And this is it's been freak things too that's been happening to him. So I'm not willing to call him injury prone. But the thing is, he's great when he's on the field, but if he's going to have these random things happen, I mean, it's just you can never get a full sense of what this team can truly be, like you said, Juice. So I'm right there with you, man. I really want to see these guys all on a field to truly get an idea of what this team can be. And hey, even in this series, yeah, we took 2 or 3 from the Padres, but if I'm not mistaken, I could have swore 2 of those 3 games we were beating them up in the expected numbers, the expected batting average numbers, and the games were closer than that. They were getting some hits, some more hits than the Cubs were in some of these situations. That's hey, why are we beating the heck out of the ball if it's just going to turn into an out? And that's been like that this season. So, that bad luck, it really, really stings.
Yeah, I think that they're due for a good span of good luck soon too. They'll probably beat a bunch of teams that they maybe shouldn't. I thought that they played that Dodgers series was pathetic, and the White Sox one I thought was really unlucky. But this San Diego series almost corrected itself, right? They did some good things on both sides of the ball. You had the Kyle Hendricks start, which was fantastic. You could have won yesterday night, but the baseball gods and the batting average balls in play gods didn't sit well with you either. And then today, they could have quit when they came back, and that resilience I think is another notch to David Ross for getting these guys going in the dugout, and keeping them eyes on the prize to win a series, and I think that's like we said, man, first series win that was scheduled series since last year. It seems like we haven't talked about a series win on here that was legitimate in a long time, and it's worth celebrating. But I'm with you. I think that if you look at this series, there's a lot of good. There's just a lot of injury bad that really is just upsetting. I really wish they were healthy.
Yeah, I'm right there with you, man. Quick shout out for this, just to kind of put a bow on this last game here. against the Padres, which ended up winning the series for the Cubs. Rowan Wick, man, 33 pitch save, multi-inning effort. Rowan Wick he was still touching 95, 96 in that second inning there. So I mean, with the lack of weapons that were in that bullpen because of David Robertson being out and all that, like Rowan Wick, he kind of showed me something today. Not that he hasn't been all season. He's been really pretty good, but the velocity's been ticking up. That's a guy that I'm kind of looking at as, hey, we have Rowan Wick back. I don't know how you feel about that, but I like what I see from Rowan Wick.
Yeah, no, he's got electric stuff. There's a lot of guys in that bullpen that, are kind of pitching down to their expectations. He's one of them that is pitching above his expectations, considering that when we talked about him on this show, he had that velocity that was, kind of down, and that curveball didn't look like it had as much bust, break on it as it did for a long time, even when he was, pre-injury. But yeah, he's been spectacular. I think it's harder and harder to find guys, and then they were talking about it in the broadcast today, that David Ross circle of trust, that's down there, because it seems like the bullpen's kind of struggled just a little bit. But I think that's a matter of starting pitching needing to be a little better. They got to get deeper into games, and if they don't, you're taxing your bullpen, and it's just more and more, tape. It's more innings. It's more fatigue that sets in. We saw last year. If your starters can't go at least 5 2/3 at most, you're going to need a really deep bullpen that is filled with guys who can go deeper into games. And the problem is that the Cubs are working bullpen, right? Like, you're kind of working through what you trust and what you don't. So I think it's been a difficult team to manage in that point for David Ross. So not just David Ross for pulling all the right strings at the end there.
Yeah, I'm 100% with you. It's a solid job by him to try to put pieces together, and it's a difficult one. And then, speaking of guys that like giving you length out of the starting rotation, I want to go ahead and look ahead to the series against the Diamondbacks. We're going to travel to Arizona to face these Rattlesnakes. Game 1, Drew Smyly, he's been pretty solid, 3.04 ERA overall this season, but that's a guy that has not given us a ton of length, Juice. He did get up to 94 pitches his last outing, but he has not given us more than 5 innings pitched in a single outing yet this year. And in his last 2, 4 1/3, 4 2/3. So I mean, I'd like to see a little bit more length from Drew Smyly, and we're gonna take on good old buddy, good old pal, Zach Davies in Game 1. Good God, man! If we don't tattoo Zach Davies, I'm gonna have a horrible freaking weekend.
Yeah, I'm with you.
I'm gonna have a horrible weekend.
I'm with it. Yeah, put Rivas in the lineup. It's hopefully Saya's back. And let's hit the guy around the yard. I wonder too if we'll be seeing a roster move, all things considered. Moving some guy who has maybe pitched too much for a fingernail on the DL or something, because it does seem like the bullpen's very taxed, because you got a long start out of Kyle the first game, but these last 2. And they really had to pull a lot out of a hat to get to the end of games here. So I'm curious if we'll see like a roster move and some, just to add another pitcher just for this series. And I'd imagine, then you can go back to your normal, roster after it, or just to find a guy to spare, a little bit of what's going on out there. I know they had Samson come up and he didn't pitch. So I wonder if Samson's a move that's coming up. Maybe he's a guy who gets another look, who got a good look last year. But I think that they sent him down after the Swindell stuff and all that. So it'd be interesting to see if he gets some time out there. But with that said, no, yeah, I think if you're looking at this series, it's take Game 1 and then try to win. It's a 3-game set, if I'm not mistaken, right? Yeah,
3 games.
It's take Game 1 and then roll your dice and try to win one of the final 2. right? It's going to be tough to win against Gallen. But with that said, get out there and knock it around. It's a bigger ballpark. Maybe duck a few in there, and who knows, man. Get out there and hit the hot weather. That's another thing too that'd be nice. Even though it's hot here now, which is kind of nice. And I went out for a little walk myself today and was like, bats are coming around. Time to start betting some overs.
Yeah.
But yeah, just to look at this series, get out there into the heat and see how far that those governed baseballs can fly.
Take the governor off. Please take the governor off. Please. It's like a go-kart, man. Nobody wants to ride the Volcano Falls go-karts. I want the real freaking deal. Give me the backyard dingoes with the governors off. That's what I want.
I'm with you, brother.
Juice.
I want home runs and long ones, man. I want 500-foot bombs. If it was my choice, Absolutely. All these guys would still be doing steroids at this point, man. That's what brings people to the yard, man. It's not the milkshakes, it's the steroids. That's what it does. I'm telling you, man.
My steroids bring all the boys to the yard.
I'm telling you, man.
Listen, Juice, shout out to the Dingers podcast, man. We want dingers. Our boys over at Dingers. We want dingers. That's what we want.
Damn right.
Juice, we got to kind of get out of here, but I want your thoughts. Fly the W pick. I think we're going to be back like Friday. Ron will be back Friday. I guess we're doing series Fly the W picks, so maybe we should just do our series Fly the W picks now for me and you, and then we'll get Ron and maybe Joe's and Tyler's or whoever's coming up here for the rest of our, Cubs on Tap panel. But Fly the W pick, we got Zach Gallen in Game 2 and Zach Davies Game 1. I'm not sure the rest of the series. TBD Saturday, Sunday, it sounds like, for the Cubs. But, Juice, Fly the W pick for the series against the D-backs.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Ian Happ. I think big ballpark. I think this is the time for the captain, one of the captains on this team to come step up. I'll go with Ian Happ. I've kind of been rotating all around between Happer and Horner and Seiya Suzuki. I went with Rivas the last one, which that was a nice touch. He had a nice series, but I'm going to go with Ian Happ for this one. And I think the Cubs win 2 out of 3 in this series. I really do. I think that they're maybe this is the stretch of some good luck on their side. And the baseball gods kind of smiled down on them after what we witnessed today for at least a week. It'd be nice to see the Cubs get a win streak going. Just to sweeten it, man. It'd be nice to see them come out there and win a couple in a row.
I am 100% with you. Let's win a couple in a row, win another series. Then we could talk about streaking with these series. After you get 2, the third is a streak. So let's get 2, and then we'll figure it out if we can get a third straight series win. But it starts in Arizona. I'm going to go with, for my Fly the W pick, I'm going to go ahead and take, let's ride the hot hand. Willie the Beast. Contract year. We spent a ton of time talking about him on this episode. He's on fire right now, absolutely locked in at the dish. Every at-bat feels like a good at-bat when Wilson's in the box. I like Wilson Contreras for this game. For this series. Zach Davies, traditionally, I don't know as much about this season, but traditionally he's a reverse splits guy. He gives up a lot of loud contact to right-handed hitters because of that changeup. So I think that Wilson's going to be in a prime position. And who spent a lot of time catching him and saw a ton of his pitches last year, a ton of his bullshit pitches last year. But whatever he was tossing up there, Wilson was back there to receive and get a very good look at. So I like Wilson in this series. And Zach Gallen also has a pretty good changeup. So, hey, he's right-handed pitcher, right-handed batter. Might do a decent job against that changeup, Zach Gallen's as well. So Fly the W pick, Wilson Contreras. You're going with Ian Happ, who's having a terrific season. I love both in this series. Let's go ahead and Fly the W. And number 1, we got a freaking series win, Juice. Any final thoughts for this series and then the upcoming one against the D-backs?
Yeah, do more of what you did in this series. You beat a good team. That's I think the whole taking the extra base. I'd love to see less Vargas out there, but it doesn't seem like that's going to be the case. But yeah, just do more of what you did
tomorrow.
Oh, he's horrible. He's horrible. If I see another at bat from him, it'll be too soon. But with that said, man, no, just do more of what they did over this week. In the span of this, 3-game set against the Padres, you beat a really, really good team, and some decent pitching too. They didn't beat some bums. They beat some good starting pitching. So go out there and have the same plate approach and be aggressive. We talked about it after the White Sox series. Be aggressive. Don't watch as much in the zone. Be aggressive. Go out there.
I like it, Juice. I was just thinking about that. I don't know what movie it's from.
Yeah, be aggressive.
Aggressive.
Be aggressive. Now, BC, we should get out there and sit behind home plate there and just chant away, and maybe we're the secret sauce to this whole thing.
We will not do the wave, though. I can guarantee you that.
No, I'm sick of seeing that shit. If you're at Wrigley and you're doing that shit, you just find the exit, my friend.
Please stop. Please stop. Juice, we got to get out of here. Anybody who's checking out this podcast right now, you know where to find all your Chicago sports needs. You go to ontapsportsnet.com. Check out, all the articles we have for just every sports team in Chicago. We have entertainment stuff. We have beer reviews, all that good stuff. I'm doing bets work. You can check out the OnTap Bets. Go to @OnTap Bets. Check that out. @Cubbies on Tap is our handle. @OnTap Sportsnet is the main handle for our main account. That is the big overarching conglomerate for this big thing. So anyways, I'll mix up my words. It's getting late here, Juice. We got to get out of here. So let's get out of here the only way that we know how. What do you say?
Fuck the Cardinals.
And let's go Cubbies.